Hundreds of demonstrators rallied in the Chilean capital this Wednesday in support of a referendum on amending Chile's dictatorship-era constitution. US President Donald Trump announced that additional federal forces were headed to the city of Kenosha after 2 people were killed in protests on Tuesday. Torrential rains in Sudan have killed 86 people and destroyed more than 30,000 homes. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South, and I'm Katrina Goss. We begin in Chile, where hundreds of demonstrators rallied in the capital in support of a referendum on the drafting of a new constitution this Wednesday. The rally was held in the iconic Central Square, renamed Dignity Square, by Chileans during the social unrest of the past year. The participants stressed their intention to go to the polls on October 25th to approve the move to redraft the constitution, which dates from the military dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, as well as stressing their intention for the process to be conducted by representatives of the Chilean people rather than lawmakers or established authorities. The rally was supervised by members of the National Guard, who were deployed around the square. A recent joint report has noted that deforestation and wildfires in the Brazilian Amazon region increased dramatically during 2019, while forecasts indicate that the fires could be even more intense this year. The joint report by the Brazilian Institute for Health Policy Studies, the Amazon Environmental Research Institute, and Human Rights Watch assesses the health impact of deforestation-related fires in the Brazilian Amazon in 2019. The study estimated that there were over 2,000 hospitalizations due to respiratory illnesses attributable to the Amazon fires in 2019, while noting that these hospitalizations represent only a portion of the overall health impact of the fires. The report also highlights that since President Jair Bolsonaro took office, his administration has moved aggressively to weaken the country's environmental enforcement agency, thus undermining the capacity to end illegal deforestation and protect the rainforest. Meanwhile, deforestation in the first half of 2020 is up by 25% in relation to the same period last year.
It is an environmental problem generating a huge and extreme impact on people in the field because of the air pollution and intoxication due to the burning. It is a chronic health problem, but preventable. The health system is overwhelmed in the Amazon region due to the COVID-19. We've talked to authorities who were concerned that hospitals could not be able to receive patients affected by the burning fog.
Argentinian President Alberto Fernandez announced the beginning of talks with the International Monetary Fund this Wednesday to agree new terms on the repayment of a $57 billion bailout agreed in 2018.
I had an extensive talk with the executive director of the International Monetary Fund, and we were able to exchange ideas about what is happening to the country, about what is happening to the world, and about the need for us to slowly and steadily work with the Monetary Fund to also clean up the mess we inherited. My conversation with Kristalina Georgieva encourages me to think that we'll be able to do it with a common logic, which is the logic of not postponing Argentina and not making those who have already suffered a lot suffer. The debts that we have with the international credit organizations, fundamentally with the International Monetary Fund, we're going to start working today to put them in order.
Thousands of doctors and medical staff in Peru have conducted nationwide protests to denounce a lack of resources in the fight against the novel coronavirus, which is seeing a resurgence in the country.
Doctors here in Peru are protesting for our rights and for public health. This pandemic has served to strip away public health and to really see what the health situation in our country is.
We lack hospitals, clinics, medicine, ventilators, oxygen tanks. So far, we have 150 doctors who have died and 80 are on ventilators. And as you know, only half of them will survive.
Guatemalan authorities have authorized the reopening of La Aurora Zoo, the largest in Central America, after being closed for 5 months due to the novel coronavirus pandemic. The zoo, which opened on Tuesday, is rated among the top 15 in Latin America. For park visitors, young and old, the reopening of the zoo has helped break the monotony imposed by the COVID-19 restrictions, offering a new option to spend their time. The reopening of the park comes as Guatemala has reported over 70,000 coronavirus cases and almost 3,000 deaths. Cuban health authorities offered an update on COVID-19 cases this Wednesday.
As a result of the analysis of these 3,056 samples, 15 tested positive for COVID-19. 15 people were diagnosed with the virus yesterday. As such, Cuba has so far conducted 372,945 PCR tests to diagnose COVID-19, and 3,759 people, 1.01% of the samples analyzed, have tested positive.
And the Cuban National Director for Epidemiology also reported on the number of patients who have recovered from the coronavirus.
Yesterday, the number of people given the all-clear in the country was favorable at 57, of which 51 were from Havana, 6 from Artemisa, and with these 57 recoveries yesterday, a total of 3,159 patients have recovered from the virus, representing 84% of cases.
And Dr. Duran also noted that the COVID-19 death toll now stands at 92.
Unfortunately, following the one death that we reported today, 92 people have passed away with or due to the disease in our country, which represent a case fatality rate of 2.44%.
Authorities in Haiti have reported 21 deaths resulting from the impact of Tropical Storm Laura over the weekend. The Haitian Civil Defense noted that 3 miners were killed and several children remain missing following the passage of the storm, which has now intensified into a Category 4 hurricane and is set to make landfall near the Texas and Louisiana border in the U.S. this Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency reported that the southern municipalities of Haiti had been severely impacted and are now isolated from the rest of the country. Meanwhile, Haitian authorities are still conducting damage assessments while providing aid with the support of the Haitian Red Cross and the Pan American Health Organization. The Senate of the Dominican Republic approved the extension of the state of emergency declared in the face of the COVID-19 pandemic for another 45 days on Wednesday. The extension was requested by Dominican President Luis Abinader. The current state of emergency expires on Thursday, September 3rd. The Senate's resolution must now be debated and voted on by the Chamber of Deputies. The request comes in the middle of the transition process from the government of former President Danilo Medina to that of Luis Abinader, who won the July 5th elections with 52.52% of the vote. The COVID-19 figures in the country, the worst hit by the pandemic in the Caribbean region, stand at more than 92,500 cases, while the death toll has surpassed 1,600. I'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Back from the south. A teenager was arrested on murder charges Wednesday after 2 people were shot dead during protests against police brutality and systemic racism in the U.S. city of Kenosha on Tuesday night. The white 17-year-old, described as a police admirer, was caught on cell phone video opening fire in the middle of the street with a semi-automatic rifle as protests continued for a third night against the shooting of unarmed black man Jacob Blake as his children watched on Sunday. Meanwhile, President Trump announced that additional federal forces were headed to Kenosha as police continued to clash with protesters. Trump made the announcement after speaking with Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers, who a day earlier announced he was authorizing the deployment of 250 National Guard troops to the county.
Tonight we're changing the curfew to 7 o'clock. We will gladly support all the peaceful protests that are really throughout Kenosha County up until 7 o'clock. And after that, we asked everybody to go home.
The Chinese Foreign Ministry has denounced the illegal incursion of US military aircraft into a no-fly zone over live-fire drills by the Chinese People's Liberation Army, stressing it was an act of provocation.
The U.S., due to high altitude, reconnaissance planes arbitrarily intruded into the no-flying zone over line-fire exercise by the Northern Theater Command of the People's Liberation Army. The intrusion severely affected China's normal exercise and training activities and violated the rules of behavior of air and maritime safety between China and the United States, as well the relevant international practice. It could easily have resulted in misjudgment and even an accident. China firmly opposes such blatant provocation and has lodged stern representations with the U.S., which urge U.S. to immediately stop such provocative moves and take real action to uphold regional peace and stability.
And Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Xiao Lishan stressed that Canada should act immediately to correct its current mistakes on relations with China. The statements came following a meeting on Tuesday between Chinese State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi and Canadian Foreign Minister Francis Philippe Champagne to address the cases of 2 Canadian citizens charged with endangering China's national security.
A news release of the meeting between Chinese State Councillor Wang Yi and the Canadian Foreign Minister Francois Philippe Champagne. Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor are suspected of engaging in activities endangering China's national security. The Chinese judicial authorities handle the cases strictly in accordance with the law and protect their legitimate rights at the same time. In all communications between China and Canada, we have shown Canada that the country should respect the rule of the law and China's judicial sovereignty.
Speaking at a business conference in France on Wednesday, the European Union chief Brexit negotiator Michel Barnier stressed the future impacts of the United Kingdom's withdrawal from the bloc.
Ladies and gentlemen, you must realize that by leaving the European Union with Brexit, the added value of which no one has been able to explain to me, not even Mr. Nigel Farage, the British are leaving 700 international agreements, 700 international agreements that must be rebuilt for them with other partners around the world. And we need to rebuild our relationship with them on all these subjects. I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, that with or without any agreement, in the coming weeks, and we are working for an agreement, and I believe UK Prime Minister Mr. Boris Johnson also wants an agreement, there will be great changes on January 1st. And I advise that your businesses, Mr. President, prepare themselves. We published in 24 languages a very precise report on the changes taking place. In any event on January 1st, for example, January 1st, all the products we trade today will be checked, which is not the case today for cars or other products.
Storm Francis battered the Netherlands during the early hours of this Wednesday with wind speeds of up to 100 km per hour and heavy rain. The Met Office issued a code yellow storm warning for coastal areas. The storm previously passed through Ireland and the United Kingdom, bringing strong gusts of nearly 80 miles per hour and heavy rain, leading to flooding. The French Prime Minister has announced he is preparing for the scenario that the French health system will once again come under heavy strain, noting that the necessary equipment and beds are available as the country sees a surge in coronavirus cases.
I want you to know, I want the whole country to know that we are preparing all the hypotheses, including the one where our healthcare system will again come under heavy strain. But I said it here calmly but firmly. We are ready. The equipment is there. The beds are available.
The International Atomic Energy Agency Director General Rafael Grossi addressed the latest negotiations with Iranian authorities on Wednesday after they granted access to 2 facilities in the country as part of the verification of Iran's declarations under the Comprehensive Safeguards Agreement of the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons.
Have agreed on that. The inspectors will have access to these sites. We have agreed on dates for this. We have agreed on the basic modalities for this. This is extremely important. We have also agreed that or recognized that these activities that we are going to have there are related to nuclear material or possible related nuclear activities. What I believe is a very important understanding, a very important agreement that allows us to continue our inspection work as it should be.
Typhoon Bavi is approaching the Korean peninsula after tearing through the South Korea's southern resort island of Jeju on Wednesday afternoon. According to forecasts, the typhoon is set to become one of the most powerful of the year to hit the region. The typhoon reached waters near Mokpo, 410 kilometers south of the South Korean capital Seoul at 6 p.m. local time and was moving north at 30 kilometers per hour with a maximum wind speed of 43 meters per second. The Met administration forecast the typhoon will reach Seoul at around 5 a.m. Thursday. It's then expected to move upward to Hwanghae province in the Democratic People's Republic of Korea. South Korean authorities have activated severe weather alerts while suspending all public transport and fishery activity. Likewise, according to the Korean Central News Agency, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un chaired an emergency meeting to discuss measures to minimize the damages. Palestinian authorities extended a lockdown in the Gaza Strip for another 3 days this Wednesday after reporting 7 new COVID-19 cases. A 48-hour total lockdown was previously announced on Monday after the confirmation of the first coronavirus cases outside of quarantine facilities.
We would like to notify the extension of the lockdown and curfew phase between and within the governorates for a renewable period of 72 hours for more scrutiny and further saving of lives and further tracking of this pandemic and identifying the ill and those who contacted them. The control plan drawn by the Health Ministry for the phase of community spread is based on not allowing the number of infections at one point, which means the culminating number, to go beyond 2,000 infections and the daily number of detected cases not to increase over 280. If we achieved smaller than these numbers, we will have high ability to handle them.
And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Torrential rains in Sudan have destroyed more than 30,000 homes and killed 86 people, while the Blue Nile is at its highest level in more than a century in the capital, Khartoum.
Since 1946 or 1948, there has never been floods like this year, and the problem has grown big and we do not know the cause. We are affected by extensive damage caused by waters and the environment itself. We brought burlap sacks, we filled them with sand and tried to block the water from the road so that it doesn't enter the houses. As for the street, we have given up hope and let people work in it, but the houses, we can't protect them. In the morning, I found out that the water had flooded the house from the stream, and as you can see, the walls are waterlogged and they can collapse. The wells are full, and this is all due at the high water level of the Nile.
The International Francophone organization has suspended Mali's membership following the military coup last week. The move comes as the international community increases its pressure on the military junta that seized power in Mali to release overthrown President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta and return to the constitutional order. The leadership of the International Organization of la Francophonie announced the decision during an extraordinary session held via video conference, while adding that it would maintain any cooperation that would help the civilian population and a transition to democracy. The move came a day after envoys from the Economic Community of West African States and the new military rulers said they had failed to agree on a timetable to return Mali to democratic rule. Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta announced a one-month extension of the curfew designed to stem the spread of the coronavirus.
that the nationwide curfew that is currently enforced between the hours of 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. daily be and is hereby extended by a further 30 days. That the Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage and the Ministry of Health will jointly issue guidelines on the gradual resumption of sporting events. Our health experts have indicated that levels of the positivity rate countrywide have fallen from a high of 13% in June to 8% in August. This is very encouraging, and it means that if we keep our civic responsibilities high, we have a chance to reach the 5% positivity rate recommended by the World Health Organization.
The president of the African Development Bank has explained that the recovery of the continent post-COVID-19 will be difficult.
Honorable governors, with the pandemic, Africa has lost over a decade of economic growth. Africa's recovery will be long and difficult. Now we must help Africa to build and to build back boldly, but smartly, paying greater attention to quality growth, health, climate, and the environment.
At least 100 people have lost their lives and hundreds of homes have been destroyed in the Afghan province of Parwan following flash floods sparked by torrential rains in the northern and eastern regions of the country. The spokesperson for Parwan province noted that the number of casualties could rise as emergency teams work to rescue people buried under destroyed houses. The Ministry of Disaster Management said in a statement that many children were among the dead in the town of Charika, which was hit by heavy rains overnight. The flooding has blocked the highways to eastern and northern provinces while affecting hundreds of acres of agricultural land. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has ordered the urgent delivery of aid to Parwan and other provinces, while also expressing his condolences to the families of the victims. Iranian health authorities offered an update on COVID-19 cases this Wednesday. Spokesperson for the Iranian Ministry of Health and Medical Education, Sima Sadat Lari, reported 2,243 new COVID-19 cases, taking a total number to over 365,000. Meanwhile, the death toll climbed above 21,000 after 190 new fatalities were recorded in the past 24 hours. According to the official, 26 provinces of the country remain in a state of alert, including the capital, Tehran. And we've come to the end of this news brief, but remember you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Katrina Goss, and thank you for watching.